Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another one of our knowledge sharing sessions. Today we'll be introduced to the space framework, and to share this with us, we have here Daniel dos Santos. As usual, guys, if you have any questions or comments, you can post it on our chat. In the end of the session, we can pass through them, and also you can open your microphone and interact with us. So I will pass now for Daniel. Daniel, you can start.
Sure. Could you share the presentation? Thank you so much. So good afternoon, good morning, good night, so what? Uh, big shoes, big shoes to be here. So first of all, I really would like to thank you, Victor, to give this opportunity to share a little bit of my learnings, my knowledge of this framework with the entire config to order community. So I'm really glad to be here. So thanks so much. So guys, that's the agenda for today. So only 6 topics. Uh, I I would like to be very straight to the point with you, but of course, if you miss something and would like to clarify or have a deep dive of some topics, let me know. Okay. Uh, I would like to start to tell you about who are making the difference. So I really want to enjoy this opportunity to uh, recognize the person involved in this study case. So thank you to all the team involved, Arthur, Rafael, Vanessa, Wagner, Gus, Dai, and Mariana. I cannot be here and sharing some good results without your help, without your commitment. So thanks so much to all of you. Uh, Next, I would like to introduce myself. So here you can see my LinkedIn profile. I wrote some space framework articles and other stuff. So in this QR code, you can access directly my profile and also my Slack and my email. So you can contact myself at any time. A little bit more, I have almost 20 years experience in operations and supply chain. So I'm not a tech guy. So my background is about operations. Also, I been working here since 2021. So next week I will complete 2 years at this incredible company, and I have some certifications about project management and agile stuff. Uh, about myself outside of my work, so I can describe myself as a family guy. So I really love it to be in with my family. Also, I love sports, so I run, I practice jiu-jitsu, I play soccer sometimes, etc. Sometimes I adventure myself at the kitchen, and my free time I really love to spend with my son. Okay, so it's not only about me, so let's talk about space framework. First, I would like to give you some origins of space. Okay, so space is started with the same entities that created Dora metrics. So some people involved in the GitHub research, Microsoft research, and the University of Victoria, lead by Dr. Nicole Frosgren. She is the VP of Research and Strategy at GitHub. And this team wants to solve, actually to clarify one question, really wants to understand what engineering productivity really entails, filtering out the myth and misconceptions. But what kind of myth? we are talking about. So in the next slide, I would like to give you 5 myths about productivity. Okay, the first one is productivity is all about developer activity. Uh, I believe this one is one of the most common myths, and it can cause undesirable outcomes and developer dissatisfaction. Sometimes higher volumes of activity appear for various reasons. Working longer hours may signal developers having to brute force work to overcome bad systems or poor planning to meet a predefined release schedule. On the other hand, increased activity may reflect better engineering systems, providing developers with the tools they need to do their jobs effectively. So, better collaboration and communication with team members is a kind of unblocking their changes and code reviews. Activity metrics alone do not reveal which of these is the case. So they should never be used in isolation, either to reward or to penalize developers. Uh, Even straightforward metrics such as number of pull requests, commits, or code reviews are prone to errors because of gaps in data and measurement errors. And systems that report these metrics will miss the benefits of collaboration, seen in peer programming or brainstorming. Um, at the end, developers often flex their hours to meet deadlines, making certain activity measures difficult to rely on in assessing productivity. The next one is productivity is only about individual performance. Uh, while individual performance is important, contributing to the success of the team is also critical to measuring productivity. Measures of performance that balance the developer, the team, and organization are important. So uh, it's very similar, for example, to team sports. Success is judged both by, for example, a player's personal performance as well as the success of their team. So, a developer who optimizes only for their own personal productivity may hurt the productivity of the team. So, more team focused activities such as code reviews, uh, on call rotations, and developing and managing engineering systems help maintain the quality of the code base and the product or the service you develop. So, finding the right balance in optimizing for individual, team, and organizational productivity, as well as understanding possible trade offs, is the key. Okay. Uh, the next myth is one productivity metric can tell us everything. So, I believe one common myth about developer productivity is that it produces a universal metric, and this one metric that matters can be used to score teams on their overall work and to compare teams across an organization and even an industry. So this isn't true, guys. Productivity represents several important dimensions of work and is greatly influenced by the context in which the work is done. Okay. Uh, the next myth is productivity measures are useful only for managers. So, developers often say that productivity measures aren't useful. I believe everybody heard something about this. So this may come from the misuse of measures by leaders or managers, and it's true that when productivity is poorly measured and implemented, I should be honestly with you. So it can lead to inappropriate usage in organizations. So it's disappointing that productivity has been co-opted this way. So it's important to note that developers have found value in tracking their own productivity. So both for personal reasons and for communicating with others. So remember that developer productivity is personal. Developers can leverage it to gain insights in their work so they can take control of their time, energy, and days. For example, we show high productivity is high correlated with feeling satisfied and happy with your work. So our mission is finding ways to improve productivity, is also about finding ways to introduce more joy and decrease frustration in a developer's day. And the last myth I would like to clarify here with, of course, space help is productivity is only about engineering systems and developer tools. So while, while developer tools and workflows have a large impact on developer productivity, human factors such as environment and work culture have substantial impact too. Often the critical work need to keep the environment and culture healthy can be uh, invisible to many members of the organization or to metrics traditionally used for measuring productivity. So work such as moral building, um, mentoring, and knowledge sharing are all critical to supporting a productive work environment and yet are often not measured. So the invisible work that benefits the overall productivity of the team. So it's just as important as other more commonly measured dimensions. Okay, so with these five myths in mind, we can jump for the next about the space definition. So work how exactly space work, how exactly space means. So the five areas of space coverage: S, satisfaction and well-being; B, performance; A, activity; C, communication and collaboration; and E, efficiency and flow. But also, space covered all three different levels of these categories. So the first one is individual, it's the one person. The number two is the team or group or squad or whatever. So when people that work together. And the last one is the system. So system can be defined as an end-to-end work to system. So for example, a development pipeline, a project, a program, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so is the overall. All right. So with this theory, how exactly we work with this in your study case? First, build the dream. So the team I show you in the beginning of the presentation where I choose some persons of different profiles and styles. After that, I share the idea, so explain the theory, the objectives, and of course the value we can add to our team. After that, we start the metrics brainstorming. Okay, guys, so what we will fight against first? So in our case, we used three brief discussions about these metrics. So first, I will show you in the next slide an example set of metrics concerning code review. Is shown to cover all dimensions of the space framework. So depending on how they are defined and proxied. Next, we provide additional examples for two select dimensions of the framework. So activity and efficiency and flow. So we not started working with the field picture. We choose some first battles. So we finish our section with a discussion of how to use the framework. So combining metrics for um, holistic understanding of developer productivity as well as questions. After that, we start to measure the metrics. Okay, so let's collect our first metrics. Let's define, so figure out action plan. And of course, metric over again, collect over again. So let's that works. Okay. In the next slide, I will provide you some examples of each category of space. Okay, so as I mentioned in the beginning, there's no one size fits all. So just to start, just to understand how exactly we start to work. So the first, satisfaction and well-being. One example is the general satisfaction. So what exactly this refers? This refers to the general state of well-being of a developer in the workplace. So um, is the employee happy with the tasks assigned to them, um, about the general flow, or do they experience too many interruptions that keep them from focus on his work? So I believe the easiest way to get these answers is through surveys and direct communication. So I really suggest to you guys uh, conducting open discussions to learn what team members need for their general satisfaction. Uh, the second example is about retention. So the term signals whether you have long-standing employees that stay for longer periods of time and grow within the company. So if developers are happy with their work environment and are motivated, they will be more likely to stay instead of finding other jobs after a few months or a year. So I really believe if we improving procedures, communication, and nurturing a health work um, culture will help your team to retain employees. Okay, it's not only about money, for example. Uh, the last example for the satisfaction and well-being is motivation and burnout. So keeping your team motivated can be tricky. For example, developers are dissatisfied with the amount of code reviews assigned to them or to you. This may create frustration. So if you can maintaining a balance is always something good to keep in mind. Okay? Now, about the performance. So one example is the output. So you can measure your team's performance using, for example, throughput for the Kanban methodology. So this kind of metric as a way of tracking your team's progress and status each step of the way. So you can have dashboards with comprehensive data that will help you get a better view of the output. Okay, it's not only the number itself. All right. The next one is our friend Dora. So here is an example. Dora metrics dashboards that help you track your team's performance in terms of code reading, testing, deployment, and release process. So to be clear, team, Dora is not a rival of space. Dora is a part of space, is a partner of space. So we can still work with Dora, we can still work with any metrics, but space provide us a different way to understand this metric, okay? Not to analyze this metric in an isolated way. The last example I give you about performance is reliability. So another perspective in analyzing your team's performance related to how well a system is operating. So in other words, that the percentage of time in which the system is working properly, so is the uptime versus when it's down, it's the downtime. Okay, so I believe it's no big news to no one here. That's all about performance. Now, another category about space is activity. So the first example is the pull requests and commits. So you can use a lot of PR report that's available to see everything about pull requests. So commits made to a new branch, PR reviews, and comments before merging the proposed changes to the main branch. That's one example. Another one is the commit timeline. I mean, commit timeline is a kind of, in my opinion, sure, velocity in the resolving the PR. So tracking how fast PR reviews are opened and resolved can also give you valid points about how your team members function. Okay? The last example, deployment frequency. So you can see when and how often deployments are made through in this DORA metric. So DORA is here again. All right? Um, okay. So about communication and collaboration. Uh, One example is review collaboration. How? Uh, I believe you can get a clear view of how your team works together by following the pull request process. I mean, from the first commit to merge, you can develop review collaboration report, offer complex views to give you a unified view of this entire process. So that's one example about collaboration. Another example about how you can track communication and collaboration is the time it takes for work to be integrated. So this can also tell you how well team members work together in order to advance a task from one stage to another. Uh, at least onboarding time. How long does it take to get new developers or new team members to understand their role within the organization? I mean, how long it takes to work at full capacity and become autonomous, as Agile call it. So the amount of time necessary to achieve this tell you something about how well team members work and communicate with new members. Doesn't matter the level, so you can track this too. The last category of space, efficiency and flow, I have the first example, DORA again. So DORA metrics can also be applied for measuring flow within developers' teams. Also, I know it's a kind of mindfulness stuff, but the ability to get into a flow and stay in that high focus zone for a certain amount of time. Everybody knows we cannot do this every time of the day. So you should find your flow time and explore that. Okay, so you cannot have meetings, for example, with this in your flow time. You can avoid this. The last example of efficiency and flow is the total number of interruptions. And it is very interesting because uh, is here we affect the focus and the overall flow of your team members is also a relevant metric. Just to give you an example, in our exercise, we review our meetings agenda and we eliminate the unnecessary meetings of some developers and then we save 9 hours in a month just with unnecessary meetings. I mean, in Brazilian rules is one work day extra, just avoiding the unnecessary meetings. So it's very important to understand the total number of interruptions of your team. All right? Okay. To close, what exactly we um, have with the our first pilot about a framework, space framework. So we increase our developer satisfaction in 150%. So in only 3 months, we increased it a lot, our developer satisfaction. In the next slide, you can see a small breakdown about this result. So we jump 1 to 3, the satisfaction about company organization. We increase a lot too the satisfaction about the testing environment. We double our satisfaction about engineering system, and also we increase our satisfaction about the code review process. Okay, only 3 months. Also, we have 2 more deployments per iteration. So I think everybody knows DORA. DORA is an important metric to the CIO organization, and one of the metrics is deploys, number of deploys during an iteration. So we double this with reviewing your process and working better together. Also, we decrease 4 times our bugs finding production. So we decrease a lot. So we have a quality first to working in production. Okay, so that's some of our first results in this pilot. Also, we learned why space is important. So some examples of this. The first one, the space framework is an innovative way of looking at productivity with an organization that stands out from anything I have seen before. So it's not just about rigid metrics and measuring performance in terms of volume of delivered products, and understand this importance is the key to moving your team to the another level. So space doesn't just give you a series of standard metrics, but it changes mentalities and it opens new doors in understanding how to improve productivity at an organizational level. The other one is space also debunks myths that keep you from getting to the root of how your team functions at this peak. So high level executives understand that there is no single metric that will tell you all you need to know. There are many variables in terms of general performance and no such thing as one size fits all measurement tool in this area of evaluation. So you need several complex metrics and to put them in context because teams, projects, and organizations are different. So comparing them based solely on a few rigid metrics without integrating them in your specific context holds a little value. So what's more, different things function differently. Being more efficient won't look the same for everyone. Uh, Another lesson is assessing your team's overall success is always focus on the big picture and not individuals. So metrics that only look at individual performance, I believe, don't give you much of an insight of the general status of your project. So remember that it's never about one team member's accomplishments, but it's about the collaboration with the teams to drive them forward. So this mentality will reflect in the general success of your teams and the finished product. Um, Another topic is about metrics are great when it comes to assessing different areas of your team's workflow. Okay, it's about the workflow. So applying these metrics into context is even more important than knowing what they mean. Um, Activity measures or velocity alone won't tell you what your teams need to be more productive, nor where their vulnerable points lie. Uh, Metrics give you a solid base on which to build on, but aligning them in the context with a complex framework is also the key. So, when doing a final assessment of your team's productivity, make sure to pull metrics from different areas of the framework. I mean, select multiple metrics that can give you a broader vision, and you are well on your way to the success of your teams and the entire company. That's what I believe. Uh, some watch out points. One, um, having too many metrics may also lead to confusion and lower motivation. Not all dimensions need to be included for the framework to be helpful. So I told you in our first exercise, we just select some metrics to attack in the first moment, and after that we want to improve this process. So, for example, if developers and teams are presented with an extensive list of metrics and improvement targets, so meeting them may feel like um, an attainable goal. So, with this in mind, note that a good measure of productivity consists of a handful of metrics across at least three dimensions of space. So these can prompt a holistic view, and they can be sufficient to evoke improvement. Okay, so just a small piece is enough to see some improvement in your team. Um, Another paradigm is uh, any measurement should be used careful because no metric can ever be a perfect proxy. Uh, it's a polemic topic, but some metrics are poor measures because they are noisy approximations. Uh, you can see in my matrix some examples. So, for example, retention. Retention is often used to measure employee satisfaction. However, this can capture much more than satisfaction. It can reflect compensation, promotion opportunities, mm, issues with a team, uh, etc., etc., etc. So at the team level, some leaders may block transfers to protect their own retention ratings. So even if retention did reflect satisfaction, it is a lagging measure, and teams don't see shifts until it is too late to do anything about it. So it's a very dangerous metric. So we have some examples, and you could give teams incentive to focus on their own work at the expense of collaborating on important projects. So it's about the goal, it's about the objectives for the team and for the persons too. The next one is teams and organizations should be cognizant of developer privacy and report only anonymized. Uh, these aggregate results at the team or group level. I know in some countries, reporting on individual productivity isn't legal. So individual level productivity analysis, however, may be insightful for the developers. For example, you can see typical developer work shifts depend on the phase of development, and developers may have more productive times of the day. So developers can opt into this type of analysis and gain valuable insights to optimize their days and manage their energy. All right. Okay, so I talk a lot. Any questions?
Yes. Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
Hi. First, thank you very much for this presentation.
My
I
pleasure.
couldn't agree more on many of the things you mentioned. I think they are very true and very pertinent concepts for our industry
Thank you.
because it gives I think it gives structure to continuous improvement efforts, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't know where to start. Okay. So thinking on that and going to the question first is what do you think is like the first step or first few steps for implementing this into an agile development team? Because now we have the big targets, right? So where to start? How do you see it?
Um, I really believe you can start with selling the idea with your team. So if your team doesn't commit with the idea, with the purpose, you cannot be succeed.
Mhm.
So after that, you can understand in the space categories and levels how exactly should be your first battles. So okay, so what are your main concern here in our team? I give you an example. Oh, okay, the code review process. All right. So in a kind of brainstorm, in a kind of a brainstorm session, you can discuss with your team what will be your first battles. Also, I believe it's very important, Jorge, uh, to understand the developer satisfaction. It's not about only the framework, it's not about only the process, but uh, doesn't matter your first battles, you should include the developer satisfaction in your pilot, in your first exercise. I believe it's very important, and you will have a lot of insights about how you can provide a best environment for the team.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. All right. So you can text me at Slack. Um, so if you have any questions or if you want to have a deep dive about how I worked with space, what kind of sites we have, or how you can apply in your team, I will very, very grateful to help you and participate in your project. So thank you so much, Config to Order community, for your time, and I wish you a very, very good weekend.
Daniel, I'd like to thank you for coming and share your knowledge about space and the experience and the pilot that you did with your squad. I think sometimes the metrics topic, it's a little bit controversial in terms of what we measure, what we don't measure. And this is a framework that there was not a lot of knowledge. So thanks for sharing, because in the moment, right, where productivity is the buzzword of the moment, right? So thinking about measurements and how we can improve from where we are and keep improving, that's great to share. So thanks for that.
Thank you thanks so much.
Thanks, Daniel, for sharing. Thanks, everyone. Have a happy Friday, and the replay of the session will be available on our Config to Order page. Thanks. We see each other on next week on our next session. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.